All right, Tizzy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Az. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. Yeah, I'd be happy to. My name is Tizzy. I run the Trans Academy here in VRChat, and we are a community of over 16,000 people in world and 6,000 people in our Discord, which to me is absolutely mind blowing because when we started this place, we had 10 people hanging out at that little coffee shop behind us over there. And it's just been incredible watching this community grow. And VR chat is so incredibly powerful for exploring gender identity because it's the first time we really have the ability to sort of embody avatars in a way that we've never been able to before in the past. It's not like puppeting an avatar in a video game. You become the avatar. When you look in the mirror, the person looking back at you is a reflection of yourself. When you move your fingers and your legs, if you have full body tracking, there's this like real-time feedback that happens. And for a lot of people, that can open up these thoughts of, hey, like I sort of like being this person that I am in the metaverse. And that's something that is making me have thoughts that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And so I think just in terms of exploring gender, VRChat is so powerful in that regard. And it's something that I, as well as so many other people, have experienced.
I love how passionate and well spoken you are when talking about this issue because I would say, out of every single person on earth, you are probably the most well equipped to explain the sheer power that this game has for trans people and everyone who wants to understand their identity.
Thank you so much. It's just something that has really meant a lot to me because in order to talk about the Academy, I think I sort of have to talk about my own personal journey a little bit, which started way back in the late 90s with virtual worlds like Meridian 59 and EverQuest as well. And that was a sort of first foray into being able to customize who I want it to be. And, back then, you can make your character, you could change the hair, you could change the gender. And like at the time, like it was just like this really cool way to explore gender.
With those early virtual worlds, it sounds like one of the main things that was important to you was identity, even that early on. I guess my question is, did you use female characters when you were starting off in games like EverQuest?
Absolutely. I think that even when I was younger, before I started playing games like EverQuest, I had these thoughts and feelings, but I didn't necessarily have the vocabulary to express what it was. At the time, the idea of things like gender dysphoria, it just wasn't quite as ubiquitous as it is now. And we have a lot more awareness and resources to be able to tackle that. But like back in the 90s and early 2000s, it just wasn't a thing. And so to have the ability to customize our identity and who we want it to be in this spaces, it was like really, really cool stuff at the time. And that's sort of how I was able to prototype my own identity back then. And, as a teenager, I grew up being Tizzy, the girl in a video game, and people knew me as that. They interacted with me as that. And so I was very much socialized as female, but sort of had this kind of juxtaposition that would happen in my life. Cause like I had my real life where I was, who I was, and then I had my virtual life. But I realized that it was absolutely a case of the art affecting the artist over time because I realized that I was just more comfortable being who I was in virtual reality. That was an identity that I connected with more than I even did my real life self. That's something that carried over into my journey into Second Life, which sort of took that whole idea of configuring identity to the next level because with full user-generated content, you could be whoever you wanted. You weren't just confined to what the game developers were giving you in terms of customization options. And that's something that I did for 15 years over in Second Life was built communities. And it's where I ultimately figured out who I was and I figured out my trans identity. And I decided to import myself in the virtual world into the real world. And that's been a journey that I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Wow, that moment of taking the Tizzy online and making that hard switch and saying, this is just me, must have been really emotional.
Absolutely. 2013 was a pretty rough year for me because it was the year that my mom was diagnosed with cancer. When you have moments like that in your life, they make you really try to figure out what's meaningful to you. And you see yourself and you realize that, we're mortal beings and we have to figure out what makes us happy. And I just couldn't see myself going into my 30s who I was. I was happier being Tizzy online. And I knew that if I was going to have a happy and fulfilling future, I would have to take these two sides of me and sort of meld them together. And so the past 10 years have been this synergy of my online self and my real life self. And it sort of culminated in who I am today. And it was because of virtual worlds that I was able to explore that to that extent.
So growing up in the 90s online, you kind of had to craft this understanding of trans identity that just wasn't around in textbooks or culture around you.
Absolutely. I didn't even really know the word transgender until later in life. Of course, back then in the 90s, to most people, trans was what they saw in, shows like Jerry Springer, where, at the time we called them transsexuals, which now is like such a yucky term. But like back then, that was, the word that we used. And I think that like a lot of awareness has been created since then. And I think that spaces like virtual worlds have been a big part of that, at least for me and my community.
As we continue to mainstream these virtual worlds, which seems inevitable at this point, this will be, it sounds like a major part of a lot of people's identities, and it will be a lot more accessible to get to the point you've been able to because of them.
Absolutely. And just being able to come here and see how many people are engaging with the Trans Academy and seeing how many members are joining our group, I think just it really speaks to having virtual spaces like this and how much they're affecting people's own gender journey. And that's sort of our goal here at the Academy, is to be able to connect people who are going through that and provide them resources, and to be able to create a safe space where people can talk about these things, even though they may not have these resources in real life. They can log in, put on a VR headset or log in on desktop, and they can have a whole community that are experiencing the same thing that they are. And I think that's really cool.
So the two most powerful aspects are identity and community.
Absolutely. Identity, community, and also education. That's a really big part of what we do here at the Academy. Not only do we offer resources to the trans community itself in terms of like voice training and other classes that we do, but we also offer education for other communities as well. One of our core tenets here at the Academy is building bridges with other communities here in VRChat and being able to share our experience with them and help them in their own journey of navigating trans issues. Like they may have members in their group who are trans, and we can help them to have sensitivity to that and just be more aware of what we go through.
Yeah, the sensitivity and awareness is definitely something that as a cis person I can say has been huge for me. I now understand how to support and better interpret the needs of my trans friends.
Absolutely. And you have been an incredible ally. And I just thank you so much for that, using your platform and your channel to be able to create awareness of these issues. It's been amazing, and we need more people like you in the world to be able to get these things out there. So thank you so much, Az. You've just been incredible.
That makes me really happy. It is one of my greatest prides in life to be able to do something like that. But I always try to keep in mind, even though I'm helping fight this battle, the real battle that's happening for each and every trans person in this country and elsewhere is like terrifying.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the most important things for battling hatred is fostering understanding. And understanding comes about through awareness. And so being able to expose the general populace to trans issues like this, I think it helps to humanize our community a lot. And I think that that's the point where we're going to really be able to make forward progress in the future.
Yeah, that word humanize, it's a word that shouldn't need to be used, but it does right now.
Absolutely.
When you think of the idea of transness, this kind of concept, what do you think it is that is so scary to people about it?
I think people are afraid of what they don't understand. Being trans is something that is incredibly hard to empathize with at a deep level unless you have experienced gender dysphoria yourself. And now, of course, not all trans people experience dysphoria, and that's completely valid. But a lot of us do. And for people who don't experience that, it's hard to sort of like put themselves in our shoes. And I think that that's kind of one of the roots of it. I think that fostering understanding to people in the world right now and creating awareness and letting them get to that same point that I did is going to be very important.
And as for how individual people can help with the issues that trans people are experiencing and facing in the real world today, what can we do as people?
I think the most important thing as an ally is to acknowledge our identity, acknowledge our existence, and validate trans people in your life. Because right now, trans people are facing a very uphill battle on multiple fronts, politically, socially, and the more people we can have on our side to help to establish that what we're going through is valid and that we are just humans trying to live our best lives. I think that's very important.
Yeah. It just feels like something that doesn't make sense to someone who's met a trans person. I've seen statistics that show literally having interacted with a single person of a group like the trans community will wipe away so much of that hate statistically.
Absolutely. And I think it's why exposure is so important. And it's one of the things that we try to also do here at the Academy. A lot of times we get people coming in like, I've never met a trans person. I don't know anything about this community. Can you share with me? And a lot of times we'll bring those people in and we'll just let them hang out and they'll just see that we're people. Moments like those are very, very important for creating understanding.
Yeah, removing the mythology and showing the humanity.
Absolutely.
So when you get those people that come in and they don't understand, I'm guessing not all of them know how to be sensitive about it. For someone who's interested in entering the Trans Academy community to learn more, what are some tips for starting off that will get you going on the right foot?
I think just a willingness to learn. Of course, people are going to mess up, and that's fine. And those moments are learning experiences. Not everybody's going to have the correct vernacular or know how to approach it, and that's fine. The fact of the matter is they have the motivation to do that, and their heart is in the right place. And the Academy is here to help those people sort of navigate that to the point where they can be an effective ally.
Yeah, we definitely, on the staff team here, it seems like everybody can get a pretty good read on if someone really wants to understand pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around virtual worlds for, 2 decades. And after a while, you just sort of have this, sixth sense of being able to tell when somebody has genuine intentions or not. You can just hear it in their voice. And we're pretty quick to remove people who are not here with the best interest of the community in mind.
And you do a very, very good job. The trust and safety team is extremely effective at maintaining a safe space here.
Yeah, and shout out to Viv and the entire TNS team at the Academy. What they do is amazing, and they could be otherwise doing anything else with their time, but they choose to spend it protecting this community. And it's just really cool. Our whole team, really, they're so dedicated. Everybody on the team is just, to some people, it's like a second job. It's just like a second unpaid job, but it's so meaningful to us being able to create this space. It's something that we all love doing, and we're willing to put in the time. It's this special moment in time when trans issues are more prevalent in the media and people are needing access to resources, but also VRChat is creating this accessibility to be able to connect people and have this like very organic human dynamic that happens between avatars. I always say that it's like the most high bandwidth way to teleconference with somebody, because not only you're getting the voice, you're getting the micro nuance of just people's nonverbals as well. And so in the context of the Trans Academy, like being able to have that level of connection with people and then offer the resources on top of that, and then the accessibility of VRChat to be able to connect all that together, it's this really exciting moment in history for us. And we want to be able to use the technology for good. And we're trying to maximize that as much as we can right now. There are a lot of trans people in VRChat. This is something that we need to be able to create a community and bring us all together, because I think we're more powerful united than separated.
That's what creates an innovator, is someone who says, I don't know why this hasn't happened yet. I need to make it happen.
Well, I've been playing VRChat for, almost 6 years now, and I would find myself regularly going into the worlds menu and I'd be searching, and I'd always type in trans to see if there were any trans-specific spaces. And there are some great LGBT-centric worlds like LGBT Hangout here in VRChat, but there was never anything that was really purpose-built for our community. It was sort of this light bulb moment, like, hey, this doesn't exist. Like, why? There's so many trans people here in VRChat. And so I just started plugging away in Unity. And before I knew it, people started showing up, and then VRChat groups came out. That was a big moment for us because it allowed for a lot of viral potential with the group, because people started to run around VRChat with the trans tag above their head, and they would go in and see that we had a world too. So that was kind of one of our big growth moments. But then when FIA on the virtual reality show did her piece on the Academy. That was like our exponential growth moment, which was really exciting to see. And it really showed how many people were using VRChat to explore their own gender identity.
Yeah, your community is perfect for so many people. It's just a matter of letting them know it exists.
Absolutely. And we are open to everybody. A lot of people come here and they're like, oh, I'm cis, is it okay for me to be here? And the answer is very yes. We accept everybody and anybody. We want people to come in and interact with our community, and we want to be able to educate and create understanding. If you are cis and you want to come hang out at the Academy because you like the vibes, feel free. Absolutely.
The Trans Academy is not defined in who comes here. It is defined in the people that are safe here, and that is everyone. There is no one that comes into the Trans Academy with good intentions and leaves feeling unsafe if we can do a single thing to stop that.
Yeah, I think being able to create an environment where people can let their guard down and just be their complete, authentic, unfiltered self, I think that's very important. And I think a lot of trans people can go to public worlds and those guards go up. There's a lot of hatred that happens just around the world in general, but being able to come to a place like this and see other people that are like you and being able to connect with them and have this like very deep camaraderie because you just have this thing you're going through together. I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. And the fact that we have resources that you have built up here, like the voice classes, for instance, which are completely free to anyone who wants to go to them, that's beautiful.
We have such an amazing voice team. I mean, shout out to Rachel and Savvy and Jessa. They all do incredible work. It was one of those things where it was just like, it just felt kind of predestined by the universe a little bit because Rachel is somebody who I had met years and years ago in VRChat when she was just starting her voice training journey. At the time, she was talking about potentially doing voice training. And so when the Academy started, I was sort of racking my brain like, okay, well, if we wanted to do voice classes, what would that look like? And like Rachel was the first person who came to mind. And then I reached out to her and she was like, yes, let's do this. Absolutely. And that was the moment where the magic really happened. And we started doing our classes in January of this year. And it's just been an incredible thing since then.
The material impact of having a resource that would usually be paid and to an extent inaccessible to, for instance, younger trans people that have unsupportive families, that's just incredible.
Absolutely. And you said the key word accessibility, and that is the main thing we try to create here. Because imagine if you're somebody who is living in a small town with 100 people and you're stuck living with unsupportive parents and you have no real life network of other trans people who you can connect with. There's no LGBT center to go be a part of with events, but you can put on a Quest 2 and you can log into VRChat and suddenly have access to this amazing, beautiful, vibrant community of people and also have access to the resources to be able to help guide you through that. And I just think it's like one of the coolest uses of VR, especially being somebody who went through something similar in the early days of virtual worlds.
Yeah. I mean, even I have heard people say in passing, like, this place saved my life. I'm sure you get that plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we do what we do. It's why we're no sleep gang. And like the minute that I get off of work, and a lot of other people on the staff, we just jump right into working in the Academy because for us, there is nothing more meaningful. This is it. I've always thought like, if I wanted to leave a legacy behind, like if I wanted to leave my mark on the world after I'm gone, what would that be? And there is nothing more meaningful than being able to create a space that uplifts people and helps to save trans lives.
And not only is it such a beautiful place now, as the virtual world continues to grow, I can only see incredible things in the future for the Trans Academy. What do you see coming in the near future and even further?
The thing is, we just don't know because when we started this group about a year ago, we didn't know what this was going to look like. And if you had told me where things were going to be in October of 2023, I wouldn't have believed it. It's one of those things where we just keep doing the work and it's going to go where it's going to go. I think that in terms of my own personal hopes for the group, right now we're going through the process of becoming a 501c3 in real life, which is a nonprofit organization. And so at some point, the Academy will be an actual nonprofit. which is going to allow us to be able to expand beyond just our world here in VRChat. We'll be able to actually create meaningful real life change as well, being able to help people who are food insecure or homeless, and being able to, still have the connection being rooted here in VRChat as well. And to me, that's so exciting.
Yeah, when I think of the Trans Academy, I think of it more as a concept than a virtual space. It's a place where people are safe, and we have this world where people go, but I think it's really amazing that you want the name Trans Academy to go beyond just where we have it now.
Absolutely. I mean, we have an opportunity to create positive real world change. It's one of the things I love about social VR in general. Like, even though, we're avatars here in this space, I mean, what is the metaverse but just like a digital projection of humanity? There are real people with, real lives behind these avatars. And I think that being able to leverage this tech to create real world change, it's why we pour our heart and souls into it. Because I think that for a lot of us, there is nothing more important than being able to do this work.
Yeah, there are so many of the other staff members that I've talked to that just are so excited to be part of this project. It's so amazing. And I know that there are tons of people just in the community that offer everything they can to make this a better place.
100%. And this is very much a group effort. This is not anything that I would have been able to do by myself. I mean, when I started working on this place, it was me for like maybe a few months. But after that, we started bringing in all of our amazing team leads. We had volunteers coming out of the woodwork. Everybody wanted to come together to make this place happen. If it wasn't for our staff and just their hard work and dedication, the Academy just wouldn't exist as it is right now.
Yeah. In private, you and I have talked about how the Trans Academy kind of changed your life too.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, just personally, the Academy was one of those moments where I realized what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And this is something that I very much see as a long-term project. I mean, we're 1 year old now here at the Academy. We just celebrated our first anniversary, but this is something that I want to do for years and years. And it's helped me to, find meaning in my life, and just being able to take my experience with virtual worlds and also trans issues and put those two things together and create a space like this. It means everything.
It's so amazing that these two already intertwined parts of your life, the virtual space that allowed you to experience your identity and the identity itself, lined up so perfectly here.
Absolutely. I've been waiting for something like VRChat for pretty much my whole life. Again, I was an old school Second Life player going back to the early 2000s, but I never would have imagined that we would have tech like this where we could be fully immersed by the time that VRChat came out. And I believe in the tech so much, and I believe in this community, and I just think that we're going to see some really special stuff in the future.
Absolutely. Like, even the fact that I can move my body and see that motion, that we have math that creates a feeling of self, is just incredible. I don't know where I would be without it either.
I think that virtual worlds are going to give people a lot of understanding that identity is malleable, because when you grow up being able to configure who you want to be in any way, that's going to start having crossover into real life. As somebody who identifies as a transhumanist, that's amazing, because I am all about malleable identity and having morphological freedom, because it's something that I've also experienced in real life. When I went to have my facial surgery with my transgender FFS surgeon, I brought up a screenshot of my Second Life avatar, because that was who I felt comfortable being. And I wanted to import her into reality, and now she is me, and vice versa.
That is absolutely incredible. You got to use the character creator in real life.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the cool things that I've experienced in social VR, just embodying various avatars, is that the Proteus effect is real, where basically somebody will put on an avatar and sort of adopt the mannerisms of that avatar, which is amazing. And again, it's one of those cases of the art affecting the artist. So for me personally, like in this avatar here, I present myself the way that I do, because I feel like it's the closest to who I am in real life.
The Proteus effect is probably the most fascinating area of the social sciences that I have ever seen discovered and written down. The fact that who we look like, the way that we express ourselves, even involuntarily, changes the brain like that, that's just incredible. It shows that we definitely have a lot to learn about how trans identity can be suppressed by the physical form. And that's, again, why transhumanism is such an important idea. The human body is flawed. Upgrade it.
Yeah, absolutely. Back before I transitioned, I was pretty shy. I was not somebody who was very sociable. I rarely left the house. I wouldn't go to like events. I wasn't very like proud of who I was. I guess my self-esteem wasn't that great. But sort of being able to explore other identities and being able to figure out who I felt most comfortable as was very important, because that unlocked the ability for me to sort of adopt that in real life. And it absolutely changed who I was, just overall. I mean, if you saw a video of me now versus 10 years ago, they're two completely separate people. And I think that, you know, as a neurodivergent person, that was really important in being able to navigate not only gender, but socialization as well.
Yeah, I think that the thing that I am most proud of you for and most amazed by is how you've managed to make this such an accessible space. You said that was a really important word earlier. This isn't somewhere that you have to fight to be part of. It's not something that you have to get on a guest list for. It's just once you found it, you are part of that community as much as you want to be.
There's a lot of hatred in the world right now. And I think that it's more important than ever to have spaces where the trans community can unite and, you know, be together and work through these issues. And being able to do that here in VRChat has just been a total blessing.
I'm sure that you spreading this revolutionary feeling that you've gotten from virtual worlds to so many others, I mean, I can't think of someone better for the job. It really has been amazing, just in the few months we've known each other, to see how much positive change you've brought to the world.
Thank you so much, Az. And I also appreciate all the help and the support that you've given us as a community, and just me personally as well. I appreciate just being your friend.
Aww.
Tell me a story, I wanna hear it. You might think it's boring, but I'm interested. Tell me a story, I wanna hear it. You might think it's boring, but I'm interested.